Hello, amazing English learners, and welcome back to Unlock B2 English, the podcast that transforms your intermediate English into confident, fluent communication. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Mark. We're so glad you're with us today for a very important topic, job interviews.
That's right. Today's episode is one of our new trend-focused episodes designed to tackle a high-value, real-world problem. We're calling it 5 Job Interview Mistakes That Make You Sound Not Fluent.
This is a big one. You can have great qualifications, but if you make certain subtle language mistakes under pressure, it can affect how you come across to the interviewer. We're not just talking about the answers themselves, but how you deliver them.
Exactly. And that's why we're here. As always, we'll start with our scaffolding method to prepare you for today's content. First, we'll preview the main ideas, and then we'll introduce some key vocabulary you'll hear.
The main idea today is to identify 5 specific, subtle errors that B2 learners often make in high-pressure situations like interviews. These are not basic grammar mistakes, but rather habits that can make you sound less confident and fluent than you actually are.
Here's the key vocabulary for today's episode. To come across as, this means to seem or to give a certain impression. For example, using confident language helps you come across as a professional. Vague language, this refers to words or phrases that are not precise or specific. Words like things, stuff, or good are examples of vague language. Concise means giving a lot of information clearly and in a few words. Interviewers appreciate concise answers. Filler words, these are the sounds and words we use to fill silence while we think, like like, or you know. To elaborate, this means to add more detail or information to what you have already said.
Great. And to get you into active listening mode, here's your pre-listening question. Think about the last time you had to speak English in a formal or stressful situation. What was one thing you said that you wish you had phrased differently? Keep that in your mind as we go.
All right, Mark, let's dive into the first mistake. Mistake number 1, overusing simple and vague adjectives.
I can see this one being very common. You mean when a candidate says something like, I'm a good worker and I have good experience with many things.
Precisely. It's grammatically correct, but it's vague language. It doesn't tell the interviewer anything specific. A B2 learner should aim higher. Instead of, I'm a good worker, try, I'm a diligent and proactive worker. Instead of, I have good experience with many things, be specific. I have extensive experience with project management software and client relations.
That makes a huge difference. It sounds much more professional and confident. So the solution is to replace weak words with powerful, specific vocabulary. What's mistake number 2?
Mistake number 2, the I think trap. Many learners start every opinion or statement with, I think. While it's not wrong, overuse can make you come across as uncertain.
So what are some stronger alternatives?
You can vary your language to sound more assertive. For example, instead of, I think I would be a good fit, you could say, I believe my skills are an excellent match for this role. In my experience, a successful team needs, I'm confident that I can bring value by. These phrases show conviction.
I love those. It's a small change that completely transforms the tone of the answer. Okay. What do you have for mistake number 3?
Mistake number 3, not elaborating on yes or no answers. This is a fluency killer. An interviewer asks, do you have experience with data analysis? And the candidate just says, yes.
That's a dead end for the conversation. It forces the interviewer to do all the work.
Exactly, you must elaborate. The rule is, answer, and then provide evidence or an example. So a much better response would be,
Yes, absolutely. In my previous role, I was responsible for analyzing weekly sales data to identify trends, which helped the team increase performance by 15%.
That single answer demonstrates experience, explains the context, and shows a positive result. It's so much more effective. What's next?
Mistake number 4, using too many filler words. We all use them, but under pressure, words like and like can become excessive and distracting. It can make you sound like you don't know the answer.
So what's the trick to avoiding them? It's hard to just stop.
The trick is not to fear silence. It's perfectly okay to take a short pause to think before you speak. You can even signal it by saying, "That's an interesting question. Let me think for a moment." This sounds much more thoughtful and professional than, like.
That's a great tip. Embrace the pause. Okay, let's hear the final mistake. Mistake number 5.
Mistake number 5, vague storytelling when asked for examples. Interviewers often say, "Tell me about a time when." They're looking for a story. A weak answer describes the situation vaguely, like, "Yeah, one time there was a problem with a client and I solved it. It was fine."
That tells me nothing about how you solved it.
Correct. The best way to answer this is using the STAR method. S, situation. Briefly describe the context. We had a key client who was unhappy with our product. T, task. What was your goal? My task was to understand their concerns and retain them as a client. A, action. What did you do? I scheduled a call, listened to their feedback, and coordinated with the tech team to develop a solution. R, result. What was the outcome? As a result, the client was satisfied with the solution and signed a new 1-year contract. This structure makes your answer clear, concise, and powerful.
Wow, those 5 points are incredibly practical. Let's do a quick recap.
We covered the 5 subtle mistakes: using vague language instead of specific adjectives, overusing "I think" instead of more confident phrases, failing to elaborate on yes-no answers, relying on filler words instead of pausing, telling vague stories instead of using the clear STAR method.
And mastering these will definitely help you come across as more fluent and professional. Which brings us to our weekly challenge.
Yes, your challenge for this week is this. Choose one of the common interview questions like, "Tell me about your strengths," or "Describe a challenge you faced." Record yourself answering the question on your phone, but focus specifically on avoiding one of the 5 mistakes we discussed today.
For example, you could practice answering without any filler words, or you could structure your answer using the STAR method. The goal is to move this knowledge from passive to active. That's it for today's episode of Unlock B2 English. We hope you found these tips helpful for your next interview.
Remember to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Next time, we're diving into the world of entertainment to analyze phrasal verbs you might have missed in the popular TV show The Office. It's going to be a fun one.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you then.